Oh no, you're not that student fella from Lisdoonvarna, are you?
I am. I'm Declan. Hi.
They told me at the post office to try to find that student fella Declan from Lisdoonvarna. Yeah, a telegram came for you. From your mammy.
My mum is no longer with us.
Not your mammy, sorry. Say your mammy, your auntie. Yeah, your auntie. It's about your daddy.
What about Daddy?
Bread van crashed into him.
The bread van?
Yeah. They said you'd best hurry home to him lest he should die all alone.
Die?
Or get worse all alone.
This is impossible.
It's not impossible. Bread vans crash into people all the time.
I know. That's how my mammy died.
Mic, check.
Trick.
So, Kaylin, I had an idea because earlier this week I was watching the movie Heat, and Christopher Nolan once said that Heat was a big inspiration for The Dark Knight, and it's pretty clear that he was like, let's make Batman, but it's Heat.
Yeah.
The Batman was loglined by its director saying, let's make the Batman, but it's 7. So I had an idea. Doesn't even have to be soon. We're still trying to nail down what we're going to do next week. But it's The Boys Watch Batman. But only half of the movies are Batman because we're watching the movies that inspired
Batman.
the Batman movies.
Oh.
Because for whatever reason, like the two best of the recent Batman movies both have a log line that's like, what if we did this, but Batman?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe one day?
Yeah, I'm down for that. 7 is a really good movie. Heat is also a good movie.
Yeah.
So maybe one of those make it onto the list. You never know.
And, like, this was all spurred because I saw on that one, like, very legal website that we watch movies on sometimes that...
what website? I don't know what you're talking about.
The Flash was available for free, and I looked at it and I said, nope, not today.
But it has Ben Affleck and George Clooney and fucking, what's the other guy's name?
There's CGI Nicolas Cage!
Oh, my God. CGI, was it
He's
Mark
Superman!
Reed? Some of the worst CGI I've ever seen in my life in a 2023 movie. Come on, guys.
You know, in a few minutes we're going to discuss a movie about characters and emotions and things.
No CGI.
And life. And I just cannot picture like a more hollow, gross, disgusting product that I am so happy that it crashed and burned.
Yes.
Than the Flash movie. Because it's from a universe, the Zack Snyder universe, that has died. There's been a whole corporate restructuring.
I don't understand how they're still making movies for this. I mean, they all bomb, and it's kind of incredible.
Well, the whole thing is everybody's confused about what they're doing because it's confusing. Our boy, why can't I think of his name? Guardians of the Galaxy guy.
Chris Pratt?
No, the director.
The director. James Gunn?
James Gunn is the new head of DC, and he's spearheading the new like DC universe.
But you know what that means, though.
But what does it mean?
So it's just he's going to make it funny, and it's going to be colorful, and there's going to be a lot of pop culture references and songs, and it's just going to be Marvel movies again.
I mean, it could be, but here's the thing. So the Flash movie, I guess, is supposed to be like a reset of the universe where they can kind of be like, throw away this, keep that, throw away this, classic multiverse stuff. But they're making all this about movies nobody gives a fuck about.
Right.
They're bringing back things that people don't care about. They brought back General Zod from Man of Steel, which is a movie that came out in like 2009.
But you know, so I did watch The Flash. I was wondering, and I haven't looked this up, but I need to. So all of the General Zod scenes are him with his mask on.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember from Man of Steel, he wore a mask because he wasn't used to Earth's oxygen levels or whatever. He had that on the entire time, and his face looked like it was CGI'd in, like a deep fake. But also his dialogue was real choppy, and I wonder if they AI'd his voice in this. And I'm wondering if they just couldn't get Michael Shannon to come back for it. But they still had the rights to his character.
So having not seen this movie, I have seen some of the the talk about this. Apparently he was there. Now, he wasn't like thrilled to come back without Zack Snyder. He's like a friend of Zack Snyder's, and he got his blessing before returning. But I wonder if it was in some sort of like diminished capacity, or they didn't have enough days to film, or they didn't get whatever they needed, or all of a sudden the movie got rewrote, and the things that he needs to do, they had some stand-in and they plastered his face on. I'm sure some of that stuff happened in the background. But my overall point was just how crushingly soulless this whole, like, it's trying to like spin hype and like nostalgia and mine nostalgia for the old Tim Burton Batman movies, and it's just trying to farm this stuff out of nowhere just to keep your attention. And I'm just so glad everybody looked at it and said, bullshit. And we're not even talking about Ezra Miller beating up people in Hawaii.
And that's what I'm saying. But I mean, they're quick to, what's his face from Ant-Man? They're quick to take away everything that he's doing.
Yeah.
But then this guy is getting all these second chances for whatever reason. I don't understand it, because we're in the day and age where it's like you can literally get canceled for anything.
It just seemed pretty clear that they were determined that this was a key piece and was going to be a big smash, because it has all the elements. It has the member berries. They were like, they saw Spider-Man No Way Home, and they were like, we want one of those.
But the thing is, like, I think the trailer for The Flash came out before Spider-Man No Way Home was announced. I want to say this trailer came out a long time ago, before like Marvel was like really doing the multiverse stuff. I could be wrong, but I remember it was like 2021 or early 2021 or 2020 or late 2020. I don't know, but still. Yeah, they royally fucked themselves.
And Indiana Jones crashed and burned. I'm just loving watching these terrible mining for nostalgia, cash out, reboot, remake, requel.
But you know what I do love, though? I love to see that Oppenheimer and Barbie can open in the same weekend and do smash numbers and also get great reviews. So it's not completely dead, folks. You know, cinema is still very much ticking.
No,
hasn't gone under yet.
I think I'm just dancing on the grave of this whole thing that's had a hold of moviedom.
See, I would dance on the grave if I knew this thing was dying, but it's not. So they're going to keep fucking pumping this stuff out. And people are going to continue to watch it. I think people need to come together as one and be like, we're not going to go see this movie. And that's never going to happen, because there's like hardcore stands of this shit. So, yeah. We just went down a Flash rabbit hole, folks.
Whoa, is this a flashpoint?
Oh my God, Michael, what year is it?
Past and the future.
What year?
It combines.
Oh my God, Michael, I saw your younger self, and he looked like a bitch.
All right, so today we are talking about the Banshees of Inisherin. This is a movie by Martin McDonagh. It was Oscar nominated in many different ways this past year, and it didn't win in any of them.
Yes.
It is a movie that was on my top 10 list last year, and I think I put it too low. I believe I had it number 6, and I think in hindsight it should have been a lot higher. It's probably the movie that matters the most of what I saw last year, or is most impressive, or most, I'd say, necessary.
Let's
to view.
do a quick rundown of what popped off last year.
Of movies?
Yes.
Well.
Nope.
Yeah.
Was a great watch.
The Batman.
I would say this is the smartest. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not smartest, but it's the most compelling movie that came out 2022.
Sorry, I'm trying to find
at least narratively.
So, as well as those, we had Top Gun Maverick, we had Glass Onion, Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was like the big critical darling. That was the one that won all the awards. Which I'm not mad at that. I don't think we'll look back and be like mad that Everything Everywhere All at Once won. Also a great movie. Nope, like you said. Yeah.
Some good A24 movies came out that year too.
Avatar 2.
Oh my God.
It's about family.
It is about family.
Okay, so The Banshees of Inisherin is a movie that, I'd been trying to make you watch for a while. Kaylin, what did you think of The Banshees of Inisherin?
I liked it. Didn't love it. I thought the performances were very solid, especially our good friend Colin Farrell. He's proven time and time again he's one of the best actors in the game right now. Kills every script he's given. He's fantastic in this. Brendan Gleeson is also good. Barry Keoghan, he's like one of these rising actors. He's fantastic in everything he's in as well. Even though he was in that really bad Marvel movie, The Eternals. Never saw that.
Wasn't he a Game of Thrones guy?
No, I don't think so.
He's just got a Game of Thrones face.
He does. He's like really. It's weird because he's handsome, but he's like also like very scary looking at the same time. He's got a very interesting face. The performances are very solid. The story is compelling in certain ways, in certain areas, and in certain moments of the film. I don't think that the story is the most interesting part of the film, though, at least personally for me. But overall, I will say that I like this movie quite a bit.
Yeah, so short summary, if you have not seen it. The Banshees of Inisherin has a pretty simple summary. There's two guys. There's Colum and there is Pádraig.
Is it Pádraig or?
It's like Pádraig. Okay. It depends how you say it. They all have. This is all an Irish island in the 1920s.
Okay.
So everybody has really thick accents. The dialogue and dialect is, I think, a big key of this movie.
And that's one thing that I was like, I couldn't understand a fucking thing these fuckers were saying.
Yeah.
They say feck, like feck.
Feckin'.
Oh.
How do, Pádraig?
You want to go to the pub?
Oh, take your hands off of me, Lucky Charms.
You daft dim man.
I got nothing against that gum. So there's Pádraig and there's Colum, and they are two friends, or they used to be friends, because one day Pádraig goes to meet up with Colum, and Colum doesn't want to be friends anymore. He tells him, I just don't want to be friends with you no more. Yeah. And eventually, because Pádraig can't take a hint or respect this, Colum says, if you keep talking to me, I'm going to start cutting off my fingers each time you talk to me, and I'll give them to you. And Colum doesn't want to talk to Pádraig because he's boring, he's a little dull, and he really wants to focus on making music. He's a fiddle player and a composer. He's a little bit older than Pádraig, it seems, and he's coming on the later
Knocking
years of
on
life.
Death's door. Yeah.
And he's worried about his legacy, and he wants his music to be his legacy, and he thinks his friendship is getting in the way. Pádraig can't accept this, and that's really the jumping off point of this movie. It's as simple as they don't want to be friends no more, and this guy said he'd cut off his fingers.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sitting here next to you, and if you're going back inside, I'm following you inside, and if you're going home, I'm following you there too. Now, if I've done something to you, just tell me what I've done to you. And if I've said something to you, maybe I said something when I was drunk and I've forgotten it, but I don't think I said something when I was drunk and I've forgotten it. But if I did, then tell me what it was, and I'll say sorry for that too, Colin. With all my heart, I'll say sorry. Just stop running away from me like some fool of a moody schoolchild.
But you didn't say anything to me. You didn't do anything to me.
Well, that's what I was thinking, like.
I just don't like you no more.
And it's basically him moping for 2 hours after that.
Yeah. It's a lot of Pádraig being sad.
But you really resonate with his character, and that's what I enjoyed the most. I think his character overall was the most fun to watch. And also you feel for him, man, because, I mean, that would suck if if you one day just woke up and was like, I'm not going to talk to you anymore, I'd probably cry. You know what I mean? Because we've been friends for a long time, and I'd be like, what the hell? So
Right. And it's not, you're in Minneapolis, Minnesota. There's millions of people in nearby.
Right.
They're on this remote island with the town, hardly there, town barely populated, like 50 people seem to live on this island. Or
and
like
they're all like miserable and judgy.
and all in each other's business. And
So really the only friends he has is like his donkey and then
His sister.
And he kind of hangs out with Barry Keoghan's character, who's kind of strange, but it's more of happenstance. He doesn't really want to hang out with
no,
them, so-
he's just the village idiot. The
Yeah.
only person that'll give him time. The only person he feels smarter than. And that's maybe we'll get into spoilers later, but that's basically it. And I think, unless you have anything else to add, I guess the one thing I maybe want to say is this is by Martin McDonagh, who's done In Bruges, Seven Psychopaths, and 3 Billboards Outside of Emmett, Missouri. I haven't seen that one, but I have seen In Bruges and Seven Psychopaths. I used to call Seven Psychopaths my favorite movie. I don't really consider it that anymore.
That was more of your you're more nihilistic time.
Yeah.
I've also seen Seven Psychopaths, and you made me watch that with you one time, and In Bruges. And I think that's what initially turned me off to this movie, because In Bruges is like one of the most depressing freaking movies I've ever seen in my life. It's a dreary time.
It's about a bunch of bad people, a bunch of hitmen, one of them suicidal, and it's all very grim, and it ends in a very grim place. Seven Psychopaths has more fun, but it is also like a Tarantino ripoff, kind of just a movie about bad guys and weird characters and snappy dialogue.
Yeah. And so that's what initially turned me off, but I'm glad that I came around and
Don't
watched
you
this.
agree this kind of feels like really like grown up and next level compared to those movies?
It does. It's like, it's a natural evolution for this director, I believe. So.
And In Bruges especially is really well regarded and is reviewed really well when it came out, but I just think like maybe I'm just old, but just the casual murders or the casual misogyny or just the dark, depressing subject matter of those other movies.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything necessarily, I think, morally wrong with them. You can make those kind of movies if you like. It's hard. I think it's a higher level of art. Like, ultimately, it's just I'm tired of that kind of.
I think you just grew up.
Yeah, I just grew up, and some of it doesn't read as cool, and it
Yeah.
just reads as more grim.
It's the same reason why we don't think Drive is as cool as it used to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just because we're not teenagers anymore, and we're not that depressed anymore,
Yeah.
guys. Like, we're okay with our mortality, I think. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
So movies like this, where it's like, yes, it is a sad plot, and there are a lot of very sad, I wouldn't say depressing, but moments like that. But there's also little glimmers of hope and little charm, and the characters are likable.
And it's also, and it was the same with In Bruges and Seven Psychopaths. These are really funny movies. It's a really funny movie that goes in some dark places, but it's really like a black comedy.
Right.
There's a lot of really funny, snappy dialogue, and just the way that, like I said, the dialect and everything. It's just it retains your attention really well. Shall we move along to the performance test?
It was the performance of a lifetime!
The performance test is where we talk about our favorite performances, actors, characters, and moments. It's tough to know where to start, but there's really our main 4.
Yeah. I will say, just again, hats off to Colin Farrell. He's just a great actor. One of my personal favorite actors. Just look at the work he did in The Batman, where he totally was transformed. A lot of that has to do with prosthetic makeups and stuff, but he really.
He also turns into James Gandolfini.
right, and that's crazy because is he actually Irish?
He's an Irish.
He was able to pull off a Brooklyn, a Jersey accent very well, and so in this, it's he's more comfortable and he's able to really that lingo going and stuff, and he just. Everything comes out of his mouth. You're just invested.
And Colin Farrell's interesting because if you go back to the early 2000s and even earlier in the 2010s, he's more in the I'm a cool action star, mainstream kind of lane. He was in movies like Miami Vice.
Yeah.
And he was in the do you remember the Total Recall remake?
Yes.
He was a little more of a generic action guy. I think he's in Minority Report. He's a little more like him and like Brad Pitt and like, you know, there's a bunch of guys that are probably going up for the same like roles in that time.
Sure.
And he's really kind of like fallen back into this comfortable. He's in big franchises like the Batman, but he's also like finds lots of work. Like we were talking about this movie called The Killing of a Sacred Deer that he's in.
Also Barry Keoghan.
He's in Seven Psychopaths. He's in Bruges. He works with Martin McDonagh a lot. And so is Brendan Gleeson, who is the other half of these duos.
Yep.
He's in Bruges as well. Brendan Gleeson, do you know what his tie to the Star Wars universe is?
I feel like I've heard this before.
Is the father of our buddy Domhnall Gleeson. He's Admiral Hux.
Oh.
He's the guy that, you know, the redheaded guy.
Yeah.
Redheaded space Nazi.
The redheaded yelling guy.
Anyways, Brendan Gleeson's also really great in this movie, and he's also an Irishman, and he's also like very comfortable in both these. Like we have our younger, sadder, like sad, mopey, sort of sheepish guy, and then we have Brendan Gleeson, who's really like
the life of the party. I mean, not really, but he's like respectable.
He's respected. He's certainly got his like crew of musicians that he seems to be recruiting and have an active part in.
Yeah.
He often does music down at the pub where everybody hangs out constantly every night because there's not a lot of entertainment on the island. And I think he really does like kind of balance this weight of like he's being unreasonable. The way he's actually dealing with this situation is unreasonable, but then he'll like switch mode and be reasonable sometimes, particularly in the scene like after there's also a police officer on this island that is Barry Keoghan's dad, and also gets in a fight with Colin Farrell, or more specifically, just punches Colin Farrell for giving him lip. And then Brendan Gleeson takes him home, and they kind of have this back and forth dynamic where it's like it's clear that maybe Brendan Gleeson isn't fully invested in this.
Yeah.
Never speak to me. He's just kind of like, I need a break.
I need some space. Yeah.
If you don't stop talking to me, and if you don't stop bothering me, or sending your sister or your priest to bother me.
I didn't send me sister to bother you, did I? She has her own mind. Although I did send the priest when you had me there.
What I've decided to do is this. I have a set of shears at home, and each time you bother me from this day on, I'll take those shears, and I'll take one of my fingers off with them, and I'll give that finger to you. A finger from my left hand, my fiddle hand. And each day you bother me more, another I'll take off, and I'll give you, until you see sense enough to stop, or until I have no fingers left. Does this make things clearer to you?
Not really, no.
I want to switch over to talk about Barry Keoghan a little bit. I found a quote from Rotten Tomatoes that kind of sums him up as an actor a little bit. So it goes, Keoghan, one of the strangest actors working today, jerks his performance wildly between this guy is the greatest actor I've ever seen and this kid is getting a little too weird. And I think that kind of sums him up perfectly. He's just really good at playing these really weird, obscure characters who are kind of like, there's something off about this guy, but I can't take my eyes off him kind of thing. And that's really hard to come by. So to see like a young actor, I think he's in his early 30s, but to see him like really getting these major roles now, I think it's very well deserved. So
his first line, I think, is Porrick, I found this stick with a hook on it. What do you suppose it's for? Hooking things with a stick length away. He's just really, really stupid, and he shines along with Carrie Condon, who plays Colin Farrell's sister. Yeah. In the scene where Barry Keoghan comes over for dinner because he's spending the night because he's getting beat at home by his dad, which is sad. Yeah. He goes there and he's hitting on Porrick's sister the whole time, and he keeps going like, "How come you're never married?" And she's like, "What?"
And she's like, I told you, like, if you're gonna come in here talking that crazy stuff, you're out. Like, he was like, this is a real dour home or something. He's like, this is such a fucking depressing home. And they're like, well, you can go back to your own home. I heard it's a barrel of laughs.
This is a depressing house. Would you prefer your own? So, I've heard it's a barrel of feckin' laughs.
Well, touche.
To what?
Touche, it's from the French. And how is it, Siobhan, that you was never married?
It's none of your feckin' business how I was never feckin' married.
How isn't it?
How isn't it?
Was you never wild?
Wild? Was I never wild? I don't know what you're talking about, Dominic. Wild how? Angry? 'Cause I'm getting angry now, I can tell you.
Not angry, wild.
You just keep saying wild, Dominic.
Wild?
My brother told you, didn't he? That you'd be out on the road if you started talking stupid to me.
He said creepy, not stupid.
Well, you failed on both counts, haven't you? I'm off to bed and he's not staying here another night, Porrick. I don't care how depressed you are. I'd rather have the donkey in.
You know what I saw him in recently? He was also in The Green Knight. He was a little bit younger, but he's same type of character.
It's
really
literally
strange and
I
creepy.
watched that, I think, after this, and I was like, oh, it's the same guy.
Yeah, basically. And now he's in talks to play the Joker. I mean, he's already got a scene where he's in full Joker makeup and he's doing the whole, what I was going to say Jared Leto, but man, no, not Jared Leto, Heath Ledger. He's doing the whole Heath Ledger thing. So that could be interesting.
So he's great, and then Carrie Condon as Siobhan, who is Parikh's sister. She's really like, it seems like Siobhan and Colum are the two with brains on the island. Mm-hmm. When they speak to each other, which happens a couple times because she kind of goes on behalf of her brother to like shut the shit down. Like, you guys are ridiculous. Like, I love her line where she goes to, it's near the end of the movie, and she goes to see Colum, and he says something, then she just starts flipping out, and she's like, you men and your pity squabbles, you are all so fucking boring. Like, she's just so tired of their fucking bullshit.
It's about one boring man leaving another man alone, that's all.
One boring man, you're all feckin' boring. With your piddling grievances over nothing, you're all feckin' boring.
Well, she's tired of everybody on the island. She's tired of that old lady who's super creepy and she's either a witch or something. I don't know. She's weird, and she's like, they hide behind bricks or the walls when on the road when she walks past and stuff. Nobody's trying to talk to her, and even though she had a confrontation with the police officer at one point. He was being really hyper aggressive to her.
There's like the nosy lady at the general store that's like, do you have any news?
She was great. She was great. I loved every scene she was in. She gave her a envelope. She was like, oh, is it a job offer yet? She was like, oh, I guess it's just opened on its own, huh?
Nosy, reading people's mail, gets mad if somebody doesn't have any news.
Yeah, so she's got this whole dynamic thing where she stays really for her brother Podrick, and she got a job offer in the mainland. This is Ireland, correct? Mm-hmm. And I guess it's during the middle of a war. I'm guessing
Irish Civil War.
Yeah, so she's trying to get off. She's got other opportunities. She wants Podrick to come with her later on, and then that doesn't work out. So her fate is kind of left undecided. Yeah, she's a very interesting character as well. Just stellar performance too.
There's also a fun little bit when she writes a letter back to Parikh, and she says she's ensconced somewhere, and he replies in the letter, "You know, I don't know what ensconced means." And I think there's one final standout scene, and it's your daddy was ran over by a bread van.
And the guy was so concerned. And he was like, my mother was ran over by a bread van. That's how my mother died.
Which this is in like a really grim part of the movie. We're like really into this. And then it just sets up for like just a really stupid sitcom joke, really. Right in the middle.
But I do love the scene that follows that of him and Barry Keoghan having a conversation. Barry is like, I'm not with that, man. Like Podrick tells him what he did and how he got rid of that guy, and Podrick was like, I thought you were one of the good ones, and he was very disappointed in him. And I was like, this kid does have a soul. He's got some heart to him, you know.
Well, he seems to only hang out with Parikh because he's the only person that's nice to him.
Yeah.
And Pádraig, one of the through lines is everyone's like, well, how do we put it? You're one of life's nice guys. You're like, yes, you're one of life's nice guys. And he's like, now that I hear it, I don't like the way that sounds.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of patronizing and demeaning. And the process of Pádraig losing his niceness and his like good nature is also a big part of the story.
We also forgot to talk about another beautiful scene. Probably the big scene, I would say, is the confrontation when Pádraig goes to the bar. He gets a little hammered, and then he confronts Colm and the police officer. And it's just a beautiful scene, and it's so rich in dialogue, and it's all about Pádraig basically saying, like, you used to be nice, and that's how I remembered you, you know. And he's like, I remember my pa, he was nice. You know, I remember my ma, she was nice too. And I remember my sister if she were to pass on, basically. And it was just such a beautiful scene. I can't really explain it, but it had such a... Because it's a sad situation, it really is. I mean, it may not seem sad in the grand scheme of things, but putting yourself in his shoes and, like, really resonating with that character... I just love that scene a lot. It was definitely the standout for me.
Why are you after Gobshy? Another baiting, is it?
You, Copper, I'm allowed to chat to you, aren't I? It's just Tubby Guts I'm not allowed to talk to.
Actually, no, I'd rather you didn't talk to me neither.
Oh, well, anyways, do you want to know what the 3 things that I hate the most on Inisherin is?
Not really.
1, policemen. 2, pudgy fiddle players. And 3... Wait, that's some funny thing for 3, what was it? Start again. 1, policeman. 2,
Pudgy fiddle players.
pudgy fiddle players. Shite, what was 3 then?
Go on back to your own gang now, Pádraig. I'm serious now.
Serious, are you? And talking to me? Are you?
You, Colm Darley. Do you know what you used to be?
No, Pádraig, what did I used to be?
Nice. You used to be nice. Didn't he not? And now, do you know what you are? Not nice.
Ah, well, I suppose niceness doesn't last then, does it, Pádraig?
Yeah, it's really the scene where the whole premise of the movie's laid out. Like, it's the 2 men being like, what is a legacy? Is it your works? Is it the music that you can maybe pass down, a work of art, a home, or whatever? Or is it the way you treat people and the people that you love?
And these small little human interactions we have with one another.
These moments and these relationships and the people that, you know, will remember us.
Right.
And it's really laid out there very beautifully. I love how it also starts with a stupid joke where he's like, there's 2 things I can't stand on this island. Policemen, pudgy fiddle players, and I swear it's something funny for the 3rd. But then he snaps on a dime, which is what like really brings the scene together. Yeah, great scene. That's really the central like scene of the movie.
It's the one we were all waiting for too, because it's kind of a slow burn getting there.
But will I tell you something that does last?
What? And don't say something stupid like music.
Music lasts.
Knew it!
And paintings last. And poetry lasts.
So does niceness.
Do you know who we remember for how nice they was in the 17th century?
Who?
Absolutely no one. Yet we all remember the music of the time. Everyone to a man knows Mozart's name.
Well, I don't, so there goes that theory. And anyway, we're talking about niceness. Not what's his name. My mommy, she was nice. I remember her. And my daddy, he was nice. I remember him. And my sister, she's nice. I'll remember her. Forever, I'll remember her.
And who else will?
Who else will what?
Remember Siobhan and your niceness. No one will. In 50 years' time, no one will remember any of us. Yet the music of a man who lived 2 centuries ago.
Yet, he says like he's English.
Come on, Pádraig.
I don't give a feck about Mozart or Beethoven or any of them funny name feckers. I'm Pádraig Súilleabháin. And I'm nice. So you'd rather be friends with this fellow, would you?
Fella who beats his own son black and blue every night that he's not fiddling with him.
I never told him that, Daddy. He's just drunk now.
You used to be nice. Or did you never used to be? Oh, God. Maybe you never used to be.
And I'm just want to say that I'm upset that none of these people won Oscars. I like Everything Everywhere All at Once. They swept in a lot of the actor categories, but I do think the one that I'd say they definitely got wrong is they gave Activia Lady an Oscar for her part in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Well, I can never remember her name. I just call her Activia Lady.
Are you talking about Scream Queen?
Yeah. Talking about Halloween.
Yeah. That was such a minor role.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, they're just giving. They're like, okay, we can't just give it to an Asian lady. We have to give it to a white lady too.
Yeah, because not only it was the lady that played Jamie Lee Curtis one,
right,
and it was the girl that played the daughter was also up for it. Which, if you're gonna pick someone from the from Everything Everywhere All at Once, pick the daughter, not the tax audit lady.
No, what it was like, oh, Jamie Lee Curtis has range.
It was like a lifelong achievement award, really. I'm sure, and also Carrie Condon. I mean, if you're gonna give one, like, she's really, really excellent in this movie, and I think she deserved it over Jamie Lee Curtis.
Right.
Give Ke Huy Quan his award, whatever. Give Michelle Yeoh their awards.
Who is the best male actor that year? Do you know?
I think it was Ke Huy Quan.
Oh yeah. I think you're right. I just know him as Short Round. That's it.
Yeah. So I'm just upset that nobody won. It's a movie built for like acting and big performances.
Well, that's the thing. It's like this is an actor's wet dream, essentially. I mean, this and like I think of this in like Fences, where it's like this could also work on a Broadway stage as well. You know,
it makes sense because actually Martin McDonagh is a theater playwright.
Okay.
So like years and years before he was a filmmaker, he was making plays that were pretty like highly regarded, I believe, in England and London. So let's move on to It's an Art Bro.
What's this?
It's an art project.
Okay, I like it. Picasso. Yeah, that way.
It's an Art Bro is where we talk about the specifics of the filmmaking process. I'm talking sets, effects, lighting, framing, soundtrack. Kaylin, is there anywhere you want to start off?
Yeah, I want to just talk about the overall vibe of the movie because I think that's what I enjoyed the most was just the feel of it. And I was surprised by this too because seeing In Bruges and how dour and depressing it was, that's what I thought it was going to be going into it. But it's not. It's actually like a very like cozy feeling. You're on this small town and it's surrounded by the ocean and there's crashing waves and you have all these like brick architecture and these little shacks that people live in, but when you get into the interiors it's very small on the inside. And like the pub, I would hang out at that pub. I mean, it's like got a cool vibe to it, you know.
Yeah. The island itself is like really beautiful, and it really takes advantage of the just the beauty of the nature and the old, like you said, the old architecture that's there. I mean, our movie starts with we're descending from the clouds onto this like just heavenly feeling island, and the soundtrack is really like lullaby like. Oftentimes it's like little chimes and little chords, and it's like really, like you said, it's really like cozy compared to In Bruges, which is like kind of like mean and like edgy and kind of like
jungle kind of thing.
And like that, I mean, that movie had a great sense of place being Bruges, but this really like you really do feel transported into like, and it's just a place of such natural beauty that you're just like, whoa. Yeah. It's like Peter Jackson film in New Zealand. It's just, you know, like there's some places where in certain filmmakers where it's like, I'm sure Martin McDonagh, an Irishman himself, like, you know, knew exactly where to go.
There's also something very ironic about people living in a beautiful place and still being miserable. You know what I mean? So it's still like that human element where it's like, it just really helps to kind of invest yourself into these characters and kind of put yourself again in their shoes, and like, because we all have human interaction every day, and the majority of them are not anything to write home about. You know what I mean? So just setting that tone, and also just like having this beautiful landscape in the back. I don't know. It just adds so much more to like the richness of the story, and like, yeah.
Character, setting, place, it all just feels really like you're really there.
You're really there.
Really really like grounded and really feel.
And I love like the folky music that they got going on. And I didn't know going into this that this was like a period piece. I thought this was going to be set modern day, but just on some bumfuck island. You know what I mean? So I was pleasantly surprised by that because I love that time period. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a scene where they're playing music in the pub. Column is, and Barry Keoghan's a little loaded, and he says, "Stop all this, play something dancey." Brings a real record scratch to the whole proceedings. The one thing, like thematically, is like we mentioned a little bit, but the Irish Civil War is happening in the background, and I think that is sort of like a skeleton key to unlock like kind of the themes and like what's going on here, because like it's not there on accident, and you don't just happen to put your story alongside the Irish Civil War. There's a moment in the movie where you just hear some gunfire, and Pádraig looks off, and he's like, "Whatever you boys are fighting for, good luck to you," you know? And he just kind of looks off there. And I think when you think of a civil war, especially a civil war where it's like brothers against brothers, friends turning on each other, like people that are close to each other, live next to each other, fighting against each other, I think it's like a very clear parallel to what we're seeing in a much smaller scale with Pádraig and with Colm, because... And here's where I think I'm going to say spoiler alert. If you don't want any spoilers for where this movie goes, really you should watch it. It's an amazing movie, in my opinion. And I don't even think me spoiling it will necessarily ruin your enjoyment, but if you can, watch it. Because as we go, and Colm is cutting off all his fingers, and eventually we get to the point where he's cut off all his fingers, he throws them, and Pádraig's donkey dies. And we get the great scene.
I don't need your apologies, all right? It's a relief to me. So let's just call it quits and agree to go our separate ways. For good this time.
Your fat fingers killed me little donkey today. So no, we won't call it quits. We'll call it the start.
You're joking me.
Yeah, no, I'm not joking, yeah. So tomorrow, Sunday, God's day, around 2, I'm going to call up to your house and I'm going to set fire to it, and hopefully you'll still be inside it. But I won't be checking either way. Just be sure and leave your dog outside. I've nothing against that gum. Or you can do whatever's in your power to stop me. To our graves we're taking this. To one of our graves anyways.
It's the moment where Pádraig snaps, and this man who we've seen as like nice and kind and loving, when his sister's gone, she finds a job in the mainland and skips out on the island, and she hopes he'll follow, but he wants to be there. And now his donkey's gone and his best friend's gone, and he doesn't have anything left.
Pushed to the brink.
He's pushed to the brink, and he follows through on this the next day. Colm doesn't die, and I think just the way the squabbles of men can turn into violence, like this didn't need to be. Nobody needed to die. The donkey didn't need to die. No. The house didn't need to burn. They could have, maybe some more emotionally capable people could have just talked through this.
Sure. I mean, I kind of, again, you can't help but put yourself in this situation. I feel like anybody would be pushed to that brink almost, where it's like, you have so many things, like, I mean, just a day before everything was fine, and then the next day it's like your best friend doesn't want anything to do with you, and then your sister's talking about leaving, and that's literally all you have in the world, And so anybody in that situation can snap. It could bring out the worst in you. And so I think that's what's so amazing about this movie. It's so human, and it's so... From that aspect, it's so compelling, and because it's easy to just get lost in like the really snappy dialogue and stuff. But when you really just look at it from the perspective of like, these are just two men, and this is just an island with bitter people because they're in the middle of fucking war across the country, and it's like I think about the lady who's in the store and she's anticipating news. She wants news from everybody, and it's never anything positive. You know what I mean? And so it's like the bucket of crabs scenario, or the analogy where it's like whenever you try to get out, there's always something pulling you back in. And I think that speaks to a lot of people even living in like small towns. I know it speaks for me living in a fucking giant city. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's just such an easy movie to resonate with, and that's what I appreciate the most.
Yeah, I've been kind of a weird evangelist about this movie accidentally. I just like it a lot, and I've shown, like, you're probably like the fourth person. Like, Dakota's seen it, my roommate, a few other people. And all people, I think, have pretty distinct and different, like, types of movies that they generally enjoy. But I think it's got a bat in 100% because it's just, I think, it's very relatable. Even if you can identify with one of these two people, and you definitely identify with Parik and just the.
Well, and that's the thing. Like you do identify with both because Colm's character, you can also see from his aspect too, where it's like, okay, this person is not helping me elevate myself.
And he also isn't respecting his boundaries at all once he lays them.
No, but I mean, it definitely could have been handled a better way. But you do see from his aspect where it's like he really wants to do something with the life that's left. You know what I mean? And so who can't relate to that? I know sometimes you got to cut people off who aren't helping you grow. You know what I mean? And it's not a spiteful thing to do, or it shouldn't be a spiteful thing to do. Sometimes it's just a necessary evil almost, at the risk of hurting somebody's feelings. We do only have one life to live, and I think, you know, to try to be great, that's not a bad thing to do either, you know. Just don't be an asshole about it. I think that's the point.
Yeah. All right. Do we have anything more for It's an Art, Bro?
No, I think we covered mostly everything. I think we can move on.
Shall we move along to Let the Hate Flow Through You?
Good. Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the hate flow through you.
So I watched this with my girlfriend last night, and she made a pretty decent point. She was like, you know, this is a great story. This is a fantastic performances all around. But is it necessary as a 2-hour long movie? And I kind of like, I totally understood what she was saying, because yes, it is fantastic performances. Yes, it is a compelling story as well. But does this need to be put on film? And does this need to be over 2 hours? You know what I mean? I don't know. I saw that, and I could see how people could be turned off from this movie. And I thought that was an interesting point to make, because I did agree that I think the runtime was a little long. Especially once you get towards the end where it's like the house burns down and you think that's it. And there's a shot of like the horse looking into Padraig's house or whatever. And it looks like an ending shot, and then it kind of fades to black. And I'm thinking, oh, credits rolling. Nope, there's an additional scene of him going to the beach and talking to Colm, and they have this little back and forth until there's not really a resolution, but they kind of part ways. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just little scenes like that felt a little unnecessary, but I understand you need that kind of explanation at the end of your film, or you need that kind of like closure almost. But I thought the film would have worked fine too, as, I don't know, maybe you needed that scene.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely remember watching, the first time I watched this movie, I remember getting to the end, and I either thought it was going to go on longer, or I thought it should have ended earlier, the same, where it was kind of like, But after watching it a few times, I mean, I do think that last scene's like powerful in the sort of like the way the roles have changed.
Yeah.
And he's in Column's or Parik's there, and like Column's the one that's trying to like put it back together, and he's like, well, you know, I forget exactly what he says, but he's essentially being like, well, that's it then. You know, you burned my place. That's it then.
Yeah.
And
there's just some things a man can't come back from.
Yeah, Parik, yeah, basically says, no, some things we don't forgive.
Yeah.
And he walks away, and it's like, and Column's the one that's left kind of being like, well,
Yeah.
He's the one that started this whole thing, and now he's like kind of seeing the end of, you know, the result. If it ain't the consequences of my own actions.
And I kind of saw it as, because in the scene with the in the bar, when Podrick is confronting Colm about everything. He's kind of laying everything out on the table. And he's talking about remembrance and talking about how I thought you were nice and maybe you weren't nice at all from the get-go, that kind of thing. And he's going back and he's talking about the people that he will remember because they were nice. And so at the end, he realizes that Colm is never that, is not that, and maybe never was. And so from that aspect, he might not remember him going forward, or might choose to forget about him. Mm-hmm. And so from that aspect, Colm's character, he wants immortality. He wants to be known forever. And the one person that cared about him is going to forget about him. You know what I mean? So I saw it from that. And I thought that was pretty powerful. And it's like, you know, your selfish desires get in the way of real human experience. And so I understand that scene. I think it's necessary, but I also just think there's some things that went a little too long, or there's a little bit too much of going back and forth of just seeing Podrick kind of mope. You know, I didn't think that was totally necessary, because you understand it's a sad situation regardless. You don't really need that extra tidbit. But
yeah, I mean, I understand it. I think when you see it as like a stage play, that stage plays have lots of just talking and hanging out.
Yeah,
and it's to fill that time. And I don't ever think this movie never felt too long. If anything, I think mostly when I watched it, I was like, oh, I thought things might escalate even further. Like there might be even more violence and more going on, but then it just kind of rode out.
Well, and I was personally, I'm fine with that, and I know personally you're fine with that, because we like these types of slower movies where there's heavy dialogue. So I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes, looking at the tomato meter, and take this any way you want to. Nobody really takes Rotten Tomatoes at face value anyways. But half of it is critics' reviews, which is at 96%. The audience score is at 75%, which is still
I think pretty high for this type of movie.
Yeah.
For the movie this talky is actually really high.
Yeah, and so looking at that, you definitely see that split where it's like, obviously the critics are going to enjoy this more because this is Oscar bait, essentially. Your average moviegoer who watches fucking Avengers all the time and goes to every DC movie ever is not going to like this movie. And that's okay, too. You know what I mean? Like, I understand why people aren't into that. Movies are about escapism. Not everybody wants to be sat and preached to for 2 hours.
Kalen, I thought this movie was boring because it didn't have Batman.
It didn't have Batman. It didn't have fucking car chases, man. It didn't have
anything.
No explosions. There was a war going on across the fucking bay, man.
Let's go watch the war. They could have had a donkey race.
The donkey has a gun. Oh, no.
We should have seen that guy get ran over by the bread van.
Oh, man, they should have showed it when he cut off his fucking fingers, man.
My favorite character was the police officer because he beat everyone's ass.
Yeah.
Including his son.
They should have showed that part, too. Yeah. This movie, obviously, me and you, we're going to appreciate it more than your average.
Because everybody else is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to.
That's the thing about the Perfect Movie Podcast. We're all smart. We're smarter than you guys.
We're really here to talk down to you and tell you what's good and what's not.
Well, this is why we're the ambassadors when the aliens come.
Because you dumbasses can't do it. Y'all can't handle it. So if you don't like this movie, it's because you're too dumb.
You're an idiot.
You're just too dumb.
Go watch The Flash. Flashpoint, you fucking idiot.
Colors and shades.
Oh my God. The Flash did that thing. He did that thing where he runs fast.
He fusion danced with himself.
Oh my God. Remember Tim Burton's Batman? Yep.
Remember Michael Keaton? Oh, do you mean the Falcon? Wait, what was his name?
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
The Birdman.
No, that's from Birdman.
You said Michael Keaton. You said the Falcon.
No, in Spider-Man when he's Zendaya's dad.
Oh my God! It's the real multiverse. They're going into all the fucking universes.
It's a crossover. Okay, so shall we get into our final segment where we ask, is this a perfect movie?
You lost a baby brother. Perfect in every way.
I had a baby brother! I had a little baby brother! And he was perfect! Perfect in every way!
I'm gonna let you go first. I know what you're gonna say.
I want to say yes, but I also, it's almost like at this point, it's just we've been on such a run of saying yes. Maybe we should send it to Purgatory.
I would agree that this should go in the Purgatories.
Think you should go to Purgatory?
Yes.
What is keeping you? Is it it's too long? Too many?
No, it just doesn't. Okay, so again, when we talk about what makes a perfect movie, there's that thing, that magical feeling that we get when we watch a movie that's perfect. And I didn't get that feeling from this. I did enjoy it quite a bit, but it didn't hit all those beats for me. Where it was emotional, but it wasn't like, damn, I'm like at the verge of tears. And I thought it was going to take me there. Because there's like a moment, some moments here and there where I was like, especially the moment where he was in the bar and he was talking and confronting Colm and stuff. I was like, oh, this is kind of hitting me in the feels a little bit. But it didn't take me there all the way. And so when I watch an emotional movie, I want waterworks, man. You know what I'm saying? That's a very biased opinion.
Didn't make you cry hard enough?
No, but I just don't think it had. It's definitely a very well made and beautiful movie, and I think people should watch it. Personally, I wouldn't put it on the list.
No, this wasn't how this is supposed to go. I had it all planned out.
Ave Maria. The Batman.
This is not how this was supposed to go. I had it all planned out.
It's got Barry Keoghan in it. And Colin Farrell.
It's a fucking multiversal. Oh my.
Okay, so we'll send this one down to Purgatory.
Do you agree with that, though?
Is this the best Batman sequel?
It is.
Is this a prequel?
But everybody's going to think it's boring.
You watched a boring movie about feelings.
Do you agree with what I was saying, though?
You could have watched Fast and Furious X. It's more badasser.
And it's more about family.
Yeah, you know.
Can't bring your kids to watch Banshees of Inisherin. Actually, you should bring your kids to watch Banshees of Inisherin because they'll go to sleep. And then you won't have to deal with their ass for 2 hours.
True, they'll be like, Mommy, I'm bored.
Mommy,
Mommy, I need more Sour Patch Kids.
Can we have more popcorn, Mommy?
But you know what you should do? You should bring your baby to watch Evil Dead Rise.
Do you want your kid to be scarred and emotionally in turmoil for the rest of his life?
Open up now. Okay, well, Kaylin, do you want to decide what we do next week, or is it going to be a surprise for
No, I think I've come to the decision. It's going to be another dour, depressing week. So I'm thinking we will do Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse?
Yes. Another arty-farty bullshit movie, but it's delightful. And you've watched it, correct? But you don't remember a lot. Correct.
I mean, I've seen it.
Okay.
And remember it, but that's fine.
I watch it with a fresh pair of eyes because it's possibly one of the better movies to come out this decade. So, with that, I think we should watch The Lighthouse.
All right, next week, The Lighthouse.
And it's also,
you know who else is in there?
Robert Pattinson, fucking Batman, in the Batman. It's another multiversal crossover. Oh my god!
and
the fucking Green Goblin. Oh my god!
That means he escaped from that room from that one movie where he's locked in the room.
Oh, yeah, it's called The Room. No, it's not The Room.
No, the room is...
Bye,
little doggy.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Well, that's a nice puppy.
Yeah, so look forward to The Lighthouse. If you haven't watched Banshees of Inisherin.
It's on Max.
It's on Max. It's a good watch. If you're not into that type of thing, sure, skip it, whatever. But I recommend. Michael recommends.
Yeah. Well, we still don't have a salutation.
Until next time. Dude.
No, we're not stealing that.
Dude, we did it last time, and Nardwar didn't break our door down, so.
Well, it's because he's a nice Canadian fella.
Maybe he wasn't nice at it from the
Speaking
beginning.
of nice Canadian fellas, there's going to be I'll probably put a secret nugget from Canadians at the end of this episode. Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to the Possum Lodge Word Game, where tonight's grand prize is a weekend for two at the Solitaire Championships. Okay, Uncle Red, you have 30 seconds to get Mike Hammer to say this word. Father. And go.
All right, Mike, your mother is married to...
Her job. Exotic dancing's her life.
Okay, I'm talking about the man who took care of you when you were young was your...
Truant officer.
This is a family member, Mike. The man who slept with your mother.
Could you be more specific?
Okay, growing up with just a mom, you knew you had a...
Curfew.
Another word for daddy.
Lifer.
All right, Mike. If your wife has kids, you'll be...
Long gone.
Whoa. Just like your...
Father.
There.